Hey guys, it's Miguel coming at you from Puerto Escondido, Mexico, and I wanted to talk to you about my experience seeing like the different areas of Puerto Escondido and where you should stay when you come here, depending on what kind of person you are and depending on what kind of experience you are looking for. So let's hang out, sit here for a little bit while we talk about the three different areas, or two broad areas, and the sub areas around Puerto Escondido and their differences and their pros and cons. So Puerto Escondido is located on a bay in the Pacific coast of the state of Oaxaca. So behind it you have the mountains, you have these big peaks, and in front of you you have the ocean. And it's built along this bay, and you have the main city of Puerto Escondido on the more sheltered side of the bay, and then this long stretch of beach which is called Brisas de Zicatela, and then at the very end you have La Punta, the point where the bay ends, and basically Puerto Escondido starts to end around there. La Punta can be considered a part of Brisas de Zicatela. It's the same beach, only it's like the point of the beach, but it's also a very isolated and separated area from like the rest of Zicatela. So each of these places has its own advantages and disadvantages, and there are pros and cons to just being in any one of these places. Some of them are more expensive, some of them are closer to certain beaches, and some of them have access to better amenities or better Wi-Fi. So in general, I'll try to give you pointers. So I'll start with there are sea squirrels here jumping from palm to palm. So let's start with actual Puerto Escondido. Puerto Escondido is the downtown of this entire area. It's where most of the supermarkets are. It's where the big health services, where the bigger stores and like the bigger hotels are gonna be. It's gonna be the area with the most access to infrastructure. So because it's where like the internet company provider is. It's where it's close to the airport. So it's this almost infrastructure centric place. And also most of the beaches are going to be accessible through or from the downtown, because they're all around that area. So you have Playa Principal, which is the main beach where all the fishing boats are anchored, and then you have Playa Carrizalillo, Playa Coral, Playa Bacocho. Like there are all these different beaches that are accessible pretty much from around the downtown area. So it's this long stretch of bluffs, and in between these bluffs you have all these smaller beaches, and they're all accessible from the downtown. So even if you are not staying in like a beachfront hostel or a beachfront hotel, you still have access to some of the best beaches, and these are some of the more swimmable beaches, because the actual longer beach, which is Brisas de Zicatela, has a very rough ocean. I mean, if the tide is like wrong enough, I mean, and the waves are crashing, I mean they can crash and create these giant explosions of water that are just incredible to watch. But it would be it would just be a very bad idea to go swimming there. So I mean, it's a little sketchy. I mean, you can get hurt by, depending on the current and depending on what like the conditions are. So the more swimmable beaches are going to be the ones that are in these sheltered bays that are closer to downtown. Carrizalillo is a beautiful one. Playa Coral is another beautiful, very swimmable one. I mean, they're all going to be in that area. So you're not missing out if you're not like on the actual long stretch of beach I mean, because if you just consider that even if you do have the beach, you really don't have the ocean. I mean, not in the way that you would have it in other places, right? So the downtown is a cool place to stay if you want to be close to like a bunch of different things that you were gonna need, like different restaurants, different infrastructure. It's also cheaper because it's a little more local. It's not as touristy. It might be a little easier to move around that area, and you have access to just different amenities, and you can always go to Brisas de Zicatela and to La Punta and to like any other place from that central point, from the actual central. And then you have Brisas de Zicatela, which is this long stretch of beach and this long street called Avenida del Morro that is just packed with hotels and beach clubs and bars and hostels and stores and stuff like that. So it's a nice stretch of beach to walk along, and it's a very beautiful beach. I mean, from end to end, it's probably like 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast you're walking. So it's a very long stretch of beach. It's a cool place to stay if you want to be in that beachy environment and have access to like all that touristy infrastructure, right? So you have like the souvenir stores, and I mean, you can go buy like a tropical shirt and go to restaurants and sit in a beach club and order a beer while the sun is pretty high. So it's more like that, like almost like paradisiac, like almost like stereotypical like beachfront, right? So it's a cool area. It's really nice to like go out and find like a nightclub by night, go dancing or do karaoke, or find like a slower paced restaurant where you can take a date and have dinner with your partner or your significant other. So who would I recommend that for? I would recommend that if you don't want to stay in the downtown, you want to actually be like in like that beachy environment, like, and have like immediate access to it, be like surrounded by it, but also like it's like a little younger and hipper, and it has way more options of where to stay. So you just have access to a lot of options, so if you are coming here for the first time, it might be like a good place to stay, and you can always just take a bus downtown and just go to the other beaches and visit them through that way, or rent a moped, which is what a lot of people do here. But you always have access to the beach, and you always have access to the beach and the beautiful sunsets, and you're able to walk all around the beach and just spend time right at the ocean, right? I mean, if you're staying in one of these beachfront hotels, or the one, even if it's like maybe even like a block behind, like the main street, it's still like a 2-minute walk, right? A minute, 2-minute walk, and you're there. So that's a very cool side of it. Because if you're in Central, it might take a while to walk places, down, because the downtown is located on a hill, so you're walking down these streets towards the beaches, or down these stairs, down these bluffs, some of which have even lost the stairs in the last hurricane. But so it is a cool place. And next we have La Punta. La Punta is the far end of Brisas de Zicatela, so it's where the bay juts out into these rocks, and there's a lighthouse on a point, and that's where a lot of the surfing takes place, because that little sheltered area, which people here call las rocas, the rocks, because there are some rocks that create a certain pattern of waves that is perfect for beginners to start learning. So all of the surf classes take place in La Punta, so it's more of that surfer environment. I mean, the surfer environment is going to be everywhere here, but here it's gonna feel like you're in it. It's like the surfer scene, and there aren't big hotels here. It's more like these smaller houses, you know, like casa this or casa that, you know. Like if it's not like a single accommodation, it's 2-3 condos or apartments or something that people rent out on Airbnb and stuff. So it's more expensive to be here because it's more rented like on Airbnb. There's a couple of hostels which you can find here. So there are cheap options to be like on this side, but it definitely is a little quieter. This is more of like a community where foreigners have slowly filtered into. And it's more laid back. I mean, there's plenty of restaurants and bars here and plenty of things to do by night, but they close at 11:30. You know, they have local curfews and noise ordinances here because it's a locals place. So a lot of people still live here. You know, they haven't been supplanted and displaced by gentrification yet, but so it's a little more on the quiet side. It's a little more on this, like, you know, more hippie, spiritual, surfer kind of vibe. So if you want to be in that environment, this would be the place. And you can always just rent a place in Zicatela, like further down in Zicatela, and just come here on a moped or like a bus or, you know, like one of the vans or something. I hope you found this video informative, and I hope that you take the opportunity to come here and to see what happens here. See what opportunities for growth, whether it's taking up surfing or whether it's going out and trying something new, meeting people, you know, or trying a different way of being, trying a different spirit. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Drop a comment down below, even if you hated it, especially if you hated it. Don't leave a comment if you hated it. And I'll see you in the next video. Adios.